Let me ask you a question. If you could get rid of one character from your account and get the pulls that you spent on that character back, what character would that be? You probably are thinking of a character right now. Maybe you thought this character was really strong, but it turned out that this character was actually really in a niche team. Or maybe this character just got power crept and you got unlucky. Either way, we all been there. Since it is almost 2 years that Wuthering Waves came out, there has been a lot of characters that came out, and while most of them were good when they were released, as time goes on, it becomes apparent that some of these characters are not that strong anymore. Which is why today we are going to talk about the top 10 most valuable characters in Wuthering Waves. Now, what does valuable really mean? Well, it's really simple. These 10 characters are the strongest characters in the game right now, and there is a high chance of them being strong in the future as well. Which means not only you can use them right now, you can also use them in the future, and you don't have to worry that much about them being power crept and not being able to use these characters anymore. So without further ado, here is the top 10 most valuable characters in Wuthering Waves. At number 10, we have Chisa. Now, Chisa is a character that currently is in a bit of a weird place, to be honest. While her character and her kit itself is pretty strong, she just hasn't found her team yet. Chisa is meant to be a support character and a healer for negative status teams. Basically all of them besides, well, Spectra Frazzle. And for a while, the only team that you could use her with was with Karathea. And even with that, if you didn't have her signature weapon, well, a rover would have been just a better option. But why is she at the number 10? Well, it seems like she's going to become a really strong character in the future. As I said, this character is a support for every negative status teams besides Spectra Frazzle, which means potentially she has 5 different teams that she can work with. One of them is Karathea, and the second one is actually with Ameth with her Fusion Burst mode, which she applies Fusion Burst, and Chisa is going to help a lot with this mode. Now, currently this team is not complete yet, but when it becomes complete, Chisa is going to find a best team finally in this game. And not only that, there are still 3 more teams that she can be used with. She could be used in an Electro Flare team, in a Glacio team, and finally in a Havoc Bane team. Overall, while she's not in the best place at the moment, it looks like she's going to be a really strong character in the future for negative status teams. And even if that doesn't happen, in the Aero Erosion teams, while she might not be as strong as Aero Rover if you don't have her signature, well, there might be a scenario where you want to use her instead of Aero Rover in a Karathea team, and that is when you want to use Rover in another element. The next element for Rover is pretty close. We don't know what element it is, we don't know what it's gonna do yet, but usually the new element is going to work well with one character. It's probably going to be another support element that helps a really good character, and in that case, there's a high chance that you want to use Rover in that team. So in this scenario, you want to use Chisa with Karathea instead of Aero Rover. And if you don't have her signature weapon, it's also fine. The standard weapon for her right now is pretty good as well. It gives her a bit of a damage bonus, which is not bad in itself. So overall, a good character right now, and she has a high potential in the future as well for new teams.
Come, meet your end.
At number 9, we have Lupa. Lupa was a strong character ever since she came out, and with each fusion character, she gets even stronger. Lupa is a support character meant for fusion-only teams, or what we call it, mono-fusion teams. And her buffs are just to the element. She buffs fusion damage for your entire team, while also decreasing the fusion res of enemies, which means your team is going to do more damage. And because her buffs just apply to fusion element, and it's not a buff to attack, HP, or defense or anything like that, any fusion character that is coming out can be used with Lupa. When she first came out, her best team was with Brandt and Changli. Then Galbrena came out and she replaced Changli, and then Mornia came out and she replaced Brandt. And again, with the newest fusion character, Ameth, you can now use her instead of Galbrena as well. So you can see why she's so strong. Basically, she's always going to be a good character no matter what because of how her buffs work. Now, it might not be the best teams for those characters, like for example with Ameth, she might deal a bit more damage if she's with Linnea and Mornia, but still, with monofusion teams, they can always clear the content with no problem. And building Lupa is not a hard thing as well. If you get her signature weapon, she's going to be really strong since her weapon also buffs everyone in the team, but if you don't have it, it's also fun. You can just use the standard weapon, which makes her deal a bit of damage as well. And speaking of her damage, not only she buffs the entire team, she's also a pretty good damage dealer healer as well. Not as good as any main DPS characters, but like as a support, you can sometimes see some pretty big numbers with her. So overall, a strong character, and she's going to be in the meta for probably a really long time. For our number 8 spot, we have Karthia. To no one's surprise, Karthia made it to this list. She is still really strong, she deals a lot of damage, and overall, she's still a pretty strong main DPS character. Since currently she's the only character that scales off of HP, she just deals a lot of damage, and one of her best supports, which is a rover, is, well, free, which is also a really good thing, since you don't have to use Shorekeeper, you don't have to use your other supports for this team, you can just use a rover. Now, the reason that she's a bit low on the list is pretty simple. She's a bit weak without Shikona. I say bit, but I'm gonna be honest. Without Shikona, she's going to have a really hard time clearing the content. On Tower of Adversity, maybe you can get by barely if you don't have Shikona, but on other modes, especially Whimpering Waste, yeah, without Shikona, she just doesn't perform that well. Shikona just buffs her a lot, and she's the only character that can apply Aero Erosion currently in the game besides, well, Karthia. So I would say while Karthia herself is really strong, without Shikona, she's just going to have a really hard time. But with Shikona, she just destroys everything. Whether it be in Tower of Adversity, Whimpering Waste, Double Pawns Matrix, anything, basically, she just deletes them still after all this time, which is pretty impressive for a character. But then again, if you want to pull for this character, you need to know that you kinda have to pull for Shikona as well if you want to clear some of the endgame content.
Furious tides split the heavens.
At number 7, we have Yuno. Yuno is a character that does basically everything. She heals, she gives shield, she does a really good amount of damage while also supporting really well as well. Her actual skill increases the next character's heavy attack by 50%. And as you can guess, this buff is pretty insane. Basically, if characters in the future use heavy attack, there is a high chance that Yuno is going to be one of the strongest supports for that character. And this is all plus the fact that she deals a good amount of damage. In fact, she deals so much damage that you can use her as a main DPS as well if you want to, which as a main DPS character, she is really strong, but it's only in Tower of Adversity and Double Pawns Matrix. In Whimpering Waste, she doesn't really perform that well since she doesn't have that much AoE in her kit, but still in Tower of Adversity and Double Pawns Matrix, she is a really good character as a main DPS. But be careful with building her because she does need a good amount of energy regen for her ultimate, so you can have it on every rotation. And most of you probably know that getting energy regen with crit rate and crit damage at the same time can be a bit of a rough thing. But other than that, she's a great character to have, a great support, while also being a good damage dealer as well.
The moon is full.
At number 6, we have Augusta. This character is still one of the strongest main DPS characters in the entire game. She does a lot of damage. She's extremely easy to use, and her ultimate freezes a timer in the fight. I mean, who else does that? You're right, no one else. And she's extremely free-to-play friendly in terms of her team because, well, you can just use Morphe with her and deal a lot of damage with her, basically. And if you get both Augusta and Yuno on the same team, you just delete everything, and I mean everything. For some reason, these two characters just do so much damage that it's ridiculous, alright? And if you have these two characters, you can clear any endgame with them, unless like there is a really bad debuff for them, basically. So yeah, a really good character, good free-to-play teams, and also a really strong character still, even in 3.0.
One strike is enough.
At number 5, we have Frolova. Yes, to no one's surprise, she made it here. By far the strongest character to have for Whimpering Waste. And not just Whimpering Waste, she's just a monster. Like literally, not just lore-wise. Frolova deals a lot of damage, it's no surprise, and her AoE is massive, while also dealing damage over time and over time and over time, which makes her the queen of Whimpering Waste, and she's probably gonna be the queen of Whimpering Waste for a really long time. I mean, currently, even though the Whimpering Waste has Havoc enemies, Frolova can still get the full clear because she's just that strong. She just doesn't care. She deletes everything. And there's a lot of reasons for that. First off, well, as I said before, because of her damage over time and her AoE. Also, she's really easy to build as well. The Echo set that she has just gives her 20% crit rate and 35% Echo skill damage for no reason, basically. It's just like they just wanted to make her really strong. And she buffs herself a lot. And this is just half of why she's really good. She's also a really good support character. Yeah, she has a lot of teams that you can use her with. With her Ultra skill, she buffs Havoc damage and heavy attack damage. So that means in any teams that uses one of these at least, you can use her. For Havoc, you can use her with Cantarella, you can use her with Roachia, you can use her with hell, even Dungeon and Havoc Rover if you really want to. And if you want to increase her damage a lot, you can just use Chi-1 to increase her Echo damage, which then she becomes way too strong, let's just say. And then for her heavy attack, well, you can just use her with Galbrena, with Augusta, with Gian, if you really want to use Gian, I guess. Basically, because she's so strong and these buffs are really good, she's just a good character and she's going to be a good character for a long time. And building her is fairly easy as well if you have String Master, which you probably have, right? So overall, a great character, deals a lot of damage, great support, and she's going to be the best character for Whimpering Waste for a long time. But then again, it's not just Whimpering Waste. Even in Tower of Adversity and Double Pawns Matrix, she's still a really good character to have.
Chant songs of old.
At number 4, we have Mornie. Our first 3.0 character finally appears on this top 10. And well, I don't think I need to give an explanation on why she's so strong, but I'll just say it just in case you don't know. Mornie is too strong for a support. Yeah, that's it. She can be used in both Monofusion teams with Lupa and Toon Rupture and Toon Strain teams. And from what it looks like, most of the 3.0 characters are going to revolve around Toon Break, Toon Strain, Toon Rupture, and all of that. So it's no surprise that she's going to be one of the strongest characters in the game right now because of how much she buffs. And not only that, she's really easy to build as well, since her best free-to-play weapon is a 4-star weapon, which is Discord. And for her echoes, you just need to get energy regen mostly, and any crit damage that you get is just extra stats that helps her. And since she gets a lot of crit rate and crit damage from her kit itself, she's just going to deal a good amount of damage in your team, even though she's a support character. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but it is what it is. I don't know what else to say. The only downside that I can see to her is that yes, she's a strong support, but she's really restrictive to her teams. As I said, you can use her in Monofusion teams, Toon Rupture, or Toon Strain teams. Other than those teams, you cannot really use her in anything else unless you have her S1, which I didn't consider sequence notes in this video, by the way. I just wanted to point this out. But yeah, overall, a really strong character, and she's going to be in the meta for probably a long time, and it's probably going to be the entire 3.0 patch.
Stars, hear my queries.
And now we got to the top 3 characters. These 3 characters are the most valuable characters in the game, and I can confidently say that these characters are going to stay at the top of the meta, and they're going to be really valuable and really strong for a really long time. And at number 3, we have Shorekeeper. Yes, even after all this time, Shorekeeper is still one of the strongest characters in the game. No character has come close to how she buffs, well, other than Morning in her teams, but overall as a general support, no other character can even come close to what she does. The fact that she gives crit rate, crit damage, energy regen, extra attack, damage amplification is still pretty good, and she can be used in most of the teams still, and she's still a really easy character to build as well, since you just need energy regen on her and just that. The only weakness that I can get out of her is basically she buffs attack only with her echo set. If in the future we get another echo set that makes her just make everyone deal more damage, that would be helpful, since she can help even more. But still, this is just nitpicking at this point, to be honest. She is still considered the #1 healer in the game for a reason, and it's not because she just heals a lot, alright? As I said, the crit rate, crit damage, damage amplification, and all of that just makes her a strong character, and she's going to stay in the meta still for a long time. For some reason, I feel like the Kuro devs just don't want to let her go, alright? I feel like they have a crush on this character, which I don't blame them. They made a masterpiece with this character. By the way, let's go to our number 2 slot right away.
Astral modulation.
And for our number 2 slot, we have Linnea, another 3.0 character. Who could have thought? Wow. So Linnea, let's talk about her. She's just too good, I'm gonna be honest. She just buffs a lot, while also dealing good damage as well. Linnea is probably the strongest support character in the entire game right now, and for a good reason. She just buffs the character that she's supporting like a lot. She gives them damage amplification, extra attack, and she increases damage dealt by everyone in the team. Like, all of this are already too good. And then her Aptra skill also increases the resonance liberation, and it's a really good thing because, well, it means with most characters in the future that are resonance liberation, they can use Linnea. That's like how it's the same thing with Yuno. And even if you're not using her with liberation characters, it doesn't matter. She buffs so much that for some teams, even though they're not liberation, she just is a better character to use because of how much she buffs. And we haven't got to the good part yet, and that is her tuned rupture and tuned strain. Currently her tuned strain doesn't have any teams to play with, so it means that she can be even used in the tuned strain team as well. But for tuned rupture, she is a great character to have. If you have Linnea with Mornia, you basically have a really strong team already. It doesn't matter what character you use as a main DPS. These two characters are just going to buff that character a lot because Linnea applies tuned rupture, and Mornia can use that tuned rupture to buff everyone in the team while also dealing some good damage herself because of that tuned rupture as well. She's also really easy to build and easy to play with as well, although I have to say personally I find her playstyle a bit boring compared to other characters. It's really monotone and like repetitive, but she is a really strong character, alright? Don't get me wrong. And also let's not forget the fact that her echo skill just buffs the next character too much. Like, wow, her main echo gives the next character all attribute damage bonus, and also her echo set gives them extra attack as well. Like, don't you think this is a bit too much, Kuro? Like, please have some mercy on the older characters and older echoes, alright? But this is exactly why she is one of the strongest supports, if not the strongest support character or hybrid character in the game.
Don't blink. You'll miss the best part.
And now, before we get into the number 1 slot, I just wanted to give an honorable mention to 2 characters, Galrena and Chiwan. I decided to not put these 2 characters in this tier list for a good reason. With Galrena, since she's an Echo character and her kit revolves around Echo, I feel like she's not gonna be that strong anymore in the future. She already got power creep by another character, and not only that, just playing her is a bit weird. She deals a lot of damage in Tower of Adversity and Double Pawns Matrix, but in Whimpering Waste, she's just not that good, alright? She doesn't have that much AO in her, and you don't really have too much time with her as well to deal a lot of damage in Whimpering Waste. But still, that doesn't mean she's bad now. But what about Chion? Well, besides Galbrena team, you can use him with Frolova only, and well, Frolova has so many teams that she doesn't need Chion at all. Like, there are so many different teams that you can play with Frolova that Chion, yes, is the best option for her, but it's just not necessary, to be honest. So, which is why I didn't also put him in the top 10. Now, it seems like there is going to be a new character that uses Echo in their kit because, well, there's a new Echo set that increases Echo damage, but still we don't know how strong that character is going to be and whether they need Chi1 to perform well at all. So until that happens, we can't really be sure yet, but if they do release another Echo character that is really good and needs Chi1, in that scenario, it's really not a bad idea to pull for Chi1 as well. But then again, we have to see what the new character looks like and whether Chi1 is going to be necessary for them. But anyway, let's go for our number 1 slot. For our number 1 slot, the most valuable character in the entire game, it's going to be Imeth. And there it is, the final 3.0 character has appeared in this video. So Imeth is the strongest DPS right now in the entire game, no questions asked, and she basically destroys everything, both with her animations and also with her damage numbers. But why did I put her in the number 1 slot? Usually with the top 10 characters and tier lists, you see like supports be the number 1 characters because, well, you can use those characters in a lot of teams. Like, for example, how you can use Shorekeeper in most of the teams, and that is why Shorekeeper was and still is one of the strongest characters in the game. But what about Imeth? Well, not only she's a really strong character, you can use her in a lot of teams, surprisingly. When Karathea was released, the only problem that she had was, well, Shikona. If you didn't have Shikona, she's just not going to be that good. But it's not the same with Imeth. With Imeth, you have so many different playstyle playstyles that you can play, and all of them are good, surprisingly. You can use her with a mono fusion team, with Lupa and with Mornier, or with other fusion characters. Like, you can even use her with Changli if you want to. And then you have her Toon Rupture mode, which you can use this with Linnea and Mornier, or with Linnea and just Shorekeeper, to be honest. Like, as long as you have Linnea, you can use this Toon Rupture mode with no problem and deal a lot of damage because of this. And also, she has a negative status mode, which is the Fusion Burst mode. Currently, there is no other character that applies Fusion Burst at the moment, but we're going to get that character really soon because, well, the echo set for this character is already in the game, which means Imeth can still be really strong with that character, and you can use Imeth with that Fusion Burst character with Chisa as well. And so you have a lot of teams that you can play with her, a lot of playstyles, and to top it all off, she's really easy to build as well. Her best free-to-play weapon is the Emerald of Genesis, which everyone should have by now, and her echo gives her way too many buffs, as you all might have expected by now. I mean, like 20% crit rate for just no reason. Why? I mean, I have no problem with characters being strong, alright? But at least give some of these echo stats to other characters, alright? Which is why she is, in my opinion, the most valuable character in the entire game. She's the strongest DPS in the game, and she has so many different playstyles and different teams that you can choose, which is the first time that I see it happen in this game. Usually with characters, there's like one really good style that you can go for, and other free-to-play methods that are not the best way to use that character. Like, for example, again with Karathea, you can use her without Shikona. She's just not going to be as strong, and she's just going to be like a normal character basically. And with Shikona, she becomes really strong. But with Imeth, you have so many different teams, and they're all really close to each other as well in terms of damage as well. So overall, great DPS character. And to finish it all off, she also buffs everyone in the team by giving them damage amplification, which, yeah, it's a extra thing as well for her. But anyway, I think I already explained more than enough.
Body limit unlocked. The savior rises.
And yeah, that was the top 10 most valuable characters in the game. Now, I already made a video like this a long time ago, but it was a bit outdated, and hopefully this time I did it a lot better. And there are two things that I wanted to mention before we finish off the video. First off, these 10 characters that I talked about are just my opinion, and although I'm really confident about these characters and how strong they are, there is no guarantee that all of these characters are going to be strong in the future as well. Except Chuan though, I have no idea what they're going to do with the whole echo characters, alright? But I guess we'll see in the future. Sometimes Kuro just likes some characters, while some other characters, they don't want to even think about it. And the second thing is that if your character was not in this video or was lower than you expected, that doesn't mean the character is bad or anything like that. And if you like any character, just pull for them. Yes, meta is important and all that, but at the same time, you're not playing the game to beat the end game. You're playing the game to enjoy it. So if there is a character that you like, just pull for them without worrying about meta that much. And well, I hope you enjoyed this. By the way, this video is recorded before the release of Luke, so basically characters after Imeth is not included in this video. But anyway, that is all for this video. Thank you all so much for watching the video till now. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back for another video. Bye bye.